Hey, Deborah, thanks for coming onto the Top Human podcast this
Oh, thanks
morning.
for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this chat. We met in a Tantra workshop in
hmm
St. Pete, Florida, and I've started to go to the Tantra workshops because it's really interesting to me to see other people working with the level of energy. This is why Tantra is super interesting to me, because if you can learn the
Yes.
skill
Okay.
of moving and connecting with your energy, you can release the negative and increase your
Yes.
pleasure, right? You can reduce your pain
Yes.
and increase your pleasure with one skill. So that's what's so fascinating about it to me. And I have my Mindworx process that I and like it's a
hmm
course, which is helping people like get in tune with their own energy and build their mind body connection and release a lot of the negative energy that they've trapped in their bodies. It's
Yeah.
something that I started discovering as I was meditating over the years, and I had my process, and I realized what I'm doing is I'm moving energy. And that alone to me was mind blowing in my own way. And then later on, I realized this is a skill I can use to heal myself. And I also had a lot of stuck sexual energy. And so that got me interested in going to the Tantra workshops in the first place. And then I learned there that we're using the skill of moving energy to connect with ourselves. And I was really surprised how a lot of the work that we were doing in these workshops is very similar to just the work I was doing on my own. I would like you to give yourself a little intro, and then I'll ask the first question. But you're a Tantra teacher. You have your site Solo Tantra.
Yes. My name is Debra Wilder, and I have the site solotantra.com. I've had that since about 2013 because I wanted to focus primarily on Tantra for solos, whether that's single people or partnered people who just can only practice solo. Or in Tantra, we believe in
Mm,
creating a foundation alone before you can even add a
yes.
partner. And
Yeah.
then before I was teaching solo Tantra, I was teaching general public, all types of Tantra
Nice. And how long have you been teaching?
since 2010.
Okay. Wow. It's quite a while.
Yeah, yeah. I first started after going to India, becoming a yoga teacher, coming back, and I met the person that wanted to train me to be a Tantra teacher. Back then, it was more lineage based, where you were invited by a teacher rather than having
Oh, wow.
workshops to become
Very
teachers.
formal.
Yes, yes.
That's cool. Nice. So my first question, and I want to give a little bit of a story with it, is what is Tantra? And the kind of little backstory is, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit just now, but I was really surprised when I was going to the first workshops that I went to, that it wasn't all just sexual stuff we were doing. In fact, it was almost zero like
hmm
sexual anything we were doing in these workshops, but a lot of it was connecting with our energy. A lot of it was and is kind of like diving into and learning about our fears, our biases, our insecurities, and looking at them, right? Shining a light on them and realizing the benefits of letting those go. And the amount of kind of like sexual stuff going on at these workshops is very small, maybe like 10%. And I was surprised that that work was very similar to the work I'd kind of self-discovered and done on myself over the past several years. So
hmm
I was surprised. I was like, this isn't what I was expecting. And it's like what I've been doing already. So my question is like, what is
Yep.
Tantra? You've been doing this for a decade.
Yeah, yeah.
How would you describe it?
First, I'll say it's funny how you said that because most people that come to Tantra either naturally did it or they naturally did other practices and they were drawn to another path like Qigong or
Okay.
higher Reiki. So,
Hmm.
majority coming are naturally more in tune with that, but not everyone.
Interesting.
So, yes. So, Tantra, and I'll give you a different definition probably every day, and it depends who I'm speaking with, right?
That's how I feel about what I'm doing too.
Yes. So, depending who I'm speaking to, the audience, I may gear it more towards them. But Tantra is everything. It is practices that we can add to all parts of our life. Everything can be tantric. And Tantra is about freedom. So letting go of judgments, being freer thinking, open-minded, how we can be the most free in touch with our authentic being. So we do all kinds of practices. Of course, it also just change our natural state that we are in. Practices can be energy movement, meditations, breath work, Tantra yoga, because yoga is actually a Tantra practice that came from Tantra.
Oh, interesting.
As a way to open the body, move negative energy, and to help someone sit in meditation longer. And then as we build a foundation, we can do those practices alone. And we can also add them to other parts of our life, such as sex or solo self-pleasuring. And then we can also add those partner practices in. Once we understand connecting to ourself, connecting to divine, then we can learn how to connect in a safe and healthy way for both people to someone else. And then you get even more explosive energy by cycling that energy so that you're both left supercharged.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love how you said, and you said this in another video of yours that I watched, that Tantra is freedom. And you're also saying that the energy really is kind of like a basis of it, right? Removing, like you were talking about with yoga, right? Letting or unblocking, removing the negatives so that your healthy energy can flow, and then connecting with somebody else.
Right. We can't be doing Tantra if we're not connecting in with the energy. We are just sitting there. We're trying to go through the practices. Someone's never going to feel it. They're not going to feel the benefits. They're not going to be able to change their mindset even around the practices and way of life, and to just burn off that old negative, the old energy, the old karmas, to bring in fresh. If someone starts kind of solo from books or looking at things online and they don't find the energy practices, what I see is they fall through. They don't see any benefit, so they give up. So if they find good practices or a good teacher group, yes, or later on, because a lot of people that come to me or that I meet, they've been trying to learn Tantra 5-10 years, but they've never actually done it because they haven't found a practice to really tap into what it is. So we can read books on philosophy all day. It can give us some understanding. It's like playing basketball. You can read books on basketball, but until you actually go play it or watch a game, maybe someone doesn't, they're not going to be able to fully grasp it. So then amplify that for actual energy practices.
Yeah, totally. So I'm curious what you were just saying then. You said some people find Tantra, but don't actually learn it, like, I guess, the proper way, for lack of a better word. Like they kind of read about it, or they get a teacher who doesn't really teach it in the way that it should be taught, I guess. What are they learning instead? Like what's missing?
Right. So maybe they're just learning strictly the philosophy around the religion. The last few hundred years has had Hindu mixed in it quite a bit. And some will say Tantra came from Hinduism, but really it was more of a tribal practice. And then Hinduism and patriarchy were later added in. But if someone's reading some of the more religious or philosophy texts, there's very few practices in there. It's more about mindset, and they're not getting a well-rounded look at it. The other thing is, if people Google Tantra, typically you have Tantra massage thrown at you, and there are a lot of great Tantra massage people in the world. It is tremendous healing, but not everyone offering Tantra massage has been trained at all in it.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
If they haven't done work on themselves and they don't know how to move energy. So like move energy, like with their hands, help both people connect with the divine. So you can put your hands over someone and not feel anything, right? If they don't know energy work. So if someone's going for Tantra massage or Tantra just energy work, they can be dissuaded if the person wasn't like truly trying. Sure, they can have fun or have a great massage, but it may not be like it won't be like true Tantra. So I also see people on that.
Yeah.
They try to see someone that wasn't actually trained.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it can get very not tainted, but people when they think of tantra can just be like, oh, it's just, a way of having sex. Or I actually
Mhm.
spoke about I gave a talk at this kind of entrepreneur center. And I at the very end, because I was talking about energy and moving it and removing and reducing our pain and then increasing our pleasure. And that's kind of what
Yeah.
tantra's about. And someone made a joke about Sting, the singer from the Police, and he made a joke that he's like, "Yeah, I wish my wife would practice tantric shopping, where she would go look at the mall but not actually buy anything." So just that joke alone was like showing that the mindset of people is like they're kind of putting tantra in a box, right? They're like, it's just this one thing. It's kind of a way you do or you have sex, but it's
Sure.
so much more than that.
Yeah.
Right. And so yeah, it can be easy, I guess, for people to think it's just one thing and then just latch onto that idea and not actually explore the full aspect and the full range of what you can do with it and of just
Mhm.
incorporating it into your kind of everyday life. Like you were saying, you can bring it into
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And that person was wrong. I've been shopping with plenty of Tantra teachers. We like spending money. You do the practices and then you can draw in the money to buy what you want. Because window shopping is just saying, I don't have the money for this. I don't deserve this.
Hmm.
So I don't like window shopping unless it's like an outdoor festival, maybe, but not really even then. I
Yeah.
think we have to spread our wealth. So, and even in like, yeah, even Sting with tantric sex. I mean, he's having orgasm after orgasm. He's not just like going through the motion for 5 hours.
Right. Right. Totally. Yeah. Because you can have multiple as a man. Yeah. Which is also amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, another piece
And,
I
but
wanted.
people don't, now I will say people don't have to have sex for 4 hours. You can make it 30 minutes or an hour and it still can be tantric. So I don't want to scare
Yeah.
anyone to think they need a gym workout to survive this.
Yeah, I think a part of it, and like with me and the energy stuff I'm doing, and definitely with Tantra, is like you kind of have to go in with a little bit of a leap of faith and like no expectations, and then just learn it and kind of trust the process and trust that this is something that's been around for thousands of years. And it's kind of unknown until you do it and until you feel it.
Yes. Yes. You have to feel it. And then once you do, from there, you want to stick with it.
Yeah, I think people would feel the benefits once they really get into it, right? Once they understand it. Yeah, at least I have. Once I started kind of getting in touch with my own energy, I was like, this is something I need to do all the time.
Hmm.
This has to be like a part of my life, right? Definitely.
Definitely.
And one thing you said earlier too, you kind of hit on it a couple times. You said there's like the mindset piece. And you said part of Tantra is also getting in touch with your authentic being,
Mm.
which I love that you said that. And that's something I've been striving for as I've been doing this work, where I've been trying to peel away like the masks that I'm wearing and the layers that are having me project certain things or having me react in certain ways that are more like survival reactions rather than me being my true, authentic, intuitive self. So,
Yes.
can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's been huge for me and that's a big goal.
Sure. So, no matter the path someone's coming from, I think we all want self growth. The confusion can be when we only step briefly into that path, go in a couple of years, do a few practices, get
Hmm.
results, and then kind of stop from there. Like, once we feel like we have a breakthrough, then a person can just occasionally do a little touch up. Like, they get to quieten their mind in meditation for a few minutes. They're like, okay, I don't have to do meditation much anymore.
Right.
So, Tantra teaches us we have to always be working on ourselves. If we think we have become awakened, we've taken away all those masks, we've dusted off all those cobwebs, Tantra will say, no, you haven't. You have to keep going more. It is
Yeah.
just the mind or the ego. It's like if I look back at over 10 years ago, the practices, I've grown so much since then, and I've learned so much more. Like we gather so much of this energy, and then every day, all the outside influences and the drama, chaos around us, leaving our homes, interacting in relationships, cleaning away our past, doing some type of, therapy type practice to clear up our childhood, our past until now.
Yeah.
It's a constant work. Now we should still be enjoying our life. I don't believe in, making it all about being the best person possible and almost abusing ourselves with self-growth and self-development. Right.
Yeah.
But
I'm probably
with
a little
Tantra,
guilty of that.
but with Tantra, it's about doing the best we can in that moment. That's what I think. Always trying to get a little bit better. Our practices always build upon each other. We start, at here, and then over time we build those practices, say a energy breath movement that we add more and more. We cycle the energy different ways. The chakras open up in different ways. So I forget your original question, but for me, it's about always working on ourselves. And that's all aspects. Our physical body is highly important. If we are not moving it, exercising it, if we're feeling pain, soreness, stiffness, energy can't flow. That's going to control our mind in sitting, meditating, moving, yoga, walking, sleeping. So the physical body, the energetic body, the chakras, the mind, and looking for outside sources sometimes with all of that as well. Like having coaches that can help me look at where my mindset is around certain things, how I can change that, how I can remove judgment or shame. In the Tantra field, there's even though it's about freedom, there are judgments around certain things, or you have to do this a certain way, or you can't do this
within Tantra,
which it's typically not Tantra teachers. It's typically like the general public. Like if you go on Reddit, like I love going through Reddit to see like people's thoughts on Tantra or what they're practicing or questions. And it's a mixed bag of like, oh, tantric sex is never Tantra. Tantra is nothing about sex. And then it's only neo-Tantra, new Tantra. It's not real Tantra.
I'm sure you get all the comments, all the perspectives on Reddit.
Yeah.
There's always somebody from every party trying to speak up.
Yeah. And YouTube and going to yoga events as well. Sure. Definitely tantric sex shouldn't be the only Tantra practice we're doing, but it is a part of life. We can't be truly functioning if we don't add it to that part of our life. Unless maybe someone's celibate and they're doing other practices to move energy, but that would take being a Tantric Buddhist monk and having someone guide them through that to move that celibate energy in a correct way. So that it's also closed-mindedness, right? We have these rigid structures around someone. So if someone develops that rule, Tantra is not about sex. That rule is in their mind, and they're telling everyone else they meet as well. It's this rigidity. And then it's going to spread from the brain to where next? The genitals, the heart, relationships with others.
Totally. Yeah. What you were saying, you were just kind of touching on it again about how the mind is affected by the body. If you're not moving the body, the energy gets stuck, and then that affects your mindset. I had to discover that on my own. So I was living in Puerto Rico for 3 years, doing a lot of this work. That's where I discovered like my it's like self-somatic approach to meditation and moving this energy around. And I started chipping away at the layers of the onion, right? And the masks and the rigidity in my mindset. And I had done that for a couple years at that point. And I had done a significant amount of work there. And I was like, something's still not right. Like I still don't feel like me. And I realized there's a physical aspect. There's a physical layer to my healing that has to be the next part of this journey. And that's when I started doing like acupuncture and massage. And then when I moved to Tampa, I met Dawn, my body worker, who is an absolute genius. And it's changed everything. And I've really realized how it all really is connected, you know? And when you can dive into your own body's energy and you can find, oh, I have this kind of pain in my back or this discomfort in my stomach, and it's connected to this idea that I'm not good enough or that I was hurt by somebody or whatever. Like it really is all connected. And exploring that is absolutely amazing, I think, and super healing. It's a little challenging, I think, and you have to want to do the work, right? And a lot of people might not be willing to, but I think it's fascinating. And I think when you connect it with Tantra, and at least when you connect it with like the sexual side of things, that you can see like there's a fun aspect to this too, right? You can play with it, and then you can play with that with other people. So I hope that makes it a little bit more, I hope that makes people more open to it, right? Kind of seeing that there's this play aspect as well.
Yes, open and wanting to proceed. One of my challenges as a teacher that other people are better at is when someone has a small amount of interest, but they don't have the mindset that they're willing to put in a little effort, not just with Tantra, with anything, even back being a personal trainer in the past. They can show up, but I can't force them to lift a heavier weight.
Definitely.
I can't do anything if they never show up back for the rest of their packages because they would rather sleep in.
They're just not there.
So I can create a plan. I can send them emails, hold them accountable, but there's only so much I can do around creating that desire.
Yeah.
Eventually, a few sessions, a few classes coming in, by then they should feel the benefits. And the benefits are so profound that they should want to continue. But it's that opening, the beginner level, right?
Yeah. It takes that little bit of leap of faith, right? That just kind of trust the process, just go with it.
Yeah, that it'll be worth it, and that they can do it, that anyone can do it. They're not going to fail at it.
And so I'm thinking of at least my past self and people that I know, and fellow entrepreneurs and business owners, people who are actively striving to be better in life in general, be more successful. They work towards like that kind of external success, and they're busy people and stressful, living stressful lives. And they would benefit greatly from having an internal success as well, right? From doing the internal work. What are the benefits there for them? Because I think there's even more benefits, right? If somebody's actively trying to strive for more and achieve more success, then you kind of have to have this inner and outer, like they kind of have to go together. At least for me, that's the way it's been. And then how would you kind of convince, for lack of a better word, like, hey, you should do this inner stuff too,
Yes. So it depends why someone says they're busy, right? So there's like the average person that says they're busy. I think we all throw that word around a lot.
Yeah,
and then there's the other person that's busy, who's like the Tony Robbins type or something, that's busy because they run 3 companies. They wake up at 3:30 and they do their practice. They do their Tantra yoga or their Kundalini yoga, Qigong, meditation. And then they work hard all day or play hard all day. And they do their physical exercise, everything they can fit in. And they see their spiritual or self-growth benefits and make them more money, get them more sales. Their company does better. So they want to continue the practices, and they can be not narcissists exactly, but a little self-absorbed, narcissistic in the way of wanting to be better at everything. And sex is always near the top of that list. So even
Interesting.
if they're not coming originally for the energy practices, they're coming to be better at sex, then that is enough to keep them going, right? So because they can like very quickly see changes in that. And then there's the other person that's busy because they're on Instagram for 2 hours a day, they're napping, they're Netflix binging, which I also like to do, talking mindlessly in conversations, just doing all these things that if they were to shave off 30 minutes and dedicate it to practice, it would give them benefits. It's being stuck in that. And it's not always our fault, because once you start using social media, they're designed to get you addicted, to rewire the brain, to keep going. Changes everything about us.
To take your attention.
It makes using that app more important than any practice.
Yeah.
And so someone has to break away from that, take a detox, or dedicate to only using it a few minutes a day. Or like I had totally deleted it for years and like restarted Instagram just recently.
That's right.
You know, they want you to like, oh gosh, you have a business, you have to have Instagram.
Right.
So of course there's other things, like people can get super addicted to gaming. There are other things. But it's all about giving our eyes something bright and shiny and colorful, these little videos to look at.
A little dopamine hit.
Yeah.
I was just telling someone about this, but it's all those things, like you said, are literally designed to be addicting, and they're designed to take your attention and your awareness. And tech companies are spending billions of dollars to build these and to market them to take your attention. Like that is how valuable our attention is. And it's amazing if we just turn it inwards, right? What we can do with it.
Yeah, I was doing interviews with a company that is working with Meta and healthcare together. So their next goal is AI in healthcare. So instead of someone in a bed working with a nurse, you go up in Meta basically, and you work with AI healthcare professional there.
In the metaverse.
Yes. So it does decrease the risk of taking the wrong advice, malpractice from a nurse, but we're trusting AI to give us healthcare advice. And then what happens once someone's up in that for weeks or months, or they're in a nursing home and they just get sucked into that? Like,
they completely
it's not
lose touch with your body. And then you don't move.
Going to become
and then you get rigid. Your energy gets stuck. I'm not looking forward to that future.
So they're trying to figure out ways to make it even more addictive.
Right.
So we have to think, okay, like today, what is my plan to have a healthy balance here? My actual real life is more important. My energy is more important than giving my mind over to these advertisements or these people, all these friends I've never actually met, in real life.
Right. I was just talking at the Crypto Fest, right, a few days ago, and our panel was on emotional intelligence versus artificial intelligence. And so we were kind of talking about like being human versus like the AI, and can AI be emotionally intelligent and all this stuff. And one thing that just kind of came out of me as I was talking is like, robots will never have life energy, right? They can be input and output based, but they're never going to have life energy. And I really like what you just said a few minutes ago, which was we have to be more interested in our own energy than in the apps, in the AI, in all of that stuff. And people are definitely interested in sex, right? I think that's a great thing that you said, as far as that could be like the entry point into some of this work is, I just want to be better at sex. Hey, look at this whole world of energy stuff. That's amazing. I mean, that makes us pretty human. sex in the metaverse, who knows what that's going to look like? It's going to happen, right? It probably already is happening. I guess my thought is like, not how do we, but do you think people will be capable of choosing to be more interested in sex and like a human experience when there's all these shiny objects in the metaverse that are trying to take us away from it?
I don't know. I think it depends on the kind of person and where they
Yeah.
are in our life. If we are having human connection now, or if they've been trapped in the pattern of isolating and not finding those connections for years, they'll be easily swayed over to AI entertainment or the metaverse for connection.
Yeah.
Because that's why we go on, unless we have a business or something, we go on apps to feel connected to something else. But we don't have to go to something else to feel connected. You can feel connected within your own self, and that should be primary. And then
Yeah,
feeling
totally.
connected to the universal energy around us and seeing how that influences our life. But number one, connection with our own self.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's challenging to get people to see the importance of that, right? I think that's one of those things that you have to experience it. You have to feel it first
Mhm.
before you can really see the benefit. And I think for me, I was very disconnected from myself. And so once I started doing the work and started having that connection with myself, I saw the benefit because it was the opposite of how I had been for the past, let's say 5 years at that point. But I had a lot of pain from that disconnection, right? So like I was like, I need this. I need to be connected with myself. I need to have more be more authentic, be more connected to my intuition. Because without that, it was very uncomfortable, stressful, kind of internally
Yes,
painful way of being, you know?
yes. For myself, I came from a background of being told you have to serve others, help everyone around
Mm,
you. So,
yes.
probably for
Yeah.
the first 10 years of doing the work, I was helping others, doing a huge amount of volunteer work, seeing how I could
Mm,
teach and help others, and being a little disconnected from my own self and doing things for myself enough to make my own self happy. And it took eventually having to look at that old mindset that was ingrained in me that, yes, I have to help myself as well.
yeah. And
And I
sometimes
do see
first.
that, especially like maybe Southern people or certain religious upbringings, that we're told to help others first, like spend
Yeah.
all our weekend like helping everybody else. And yeah, it feels great to help others. We should definitely do that sometimes, but not sacrificing our own joy, our own bank accounts, our own growth. And I see that as a pattern with people with similar backgrounds of
Mm,
learning this, doing it for a couple of years, and then maybe you want to be a yoga teacher or do something in the spiritual realm, be a Reiki healer, um, be a massage therapist, doing something to dedicate to the spiritual growth of others. And then they get so much into doing that work that they stop working on their own self. So, like, I'll ask, sometimes new yoga teachers, well, how often do you practice yoga? And they're like, oh, I never practice yoga except for while I'm teaching a group class and I do 20 poses. I'm like, if you're teaching and you're just spontaneously doing a few poses, you're not actually practicing.
right. Right.
Or like new meditation people that they're like, oh, I got to a high level of meditation. I'm able to do it. So now I make everything a meditation, driving my car, operating chainsaws, like it's all a meditation. Or I do 30 seconds of meditation. I tap into my being and that's it. I don't need to do more. So, and then it's all about helping others, but we
They've kind
have
of
to
watered
keep
it
up that
down.
practice. Yeah. And I do believe, yeah, I know I can tap in to myself in 30 seconds. Yes. But
Sure.
there's other
Yeah.
reasons we
Same.
do meditation, right? I'm not getting rid of my ADHD thoughts. I need at
Yeah.
least 5 minutes. preferably 30 minutes to calm that down, defragment the brain so I can think slower and better.
Yeah.
So we're not just doing these for connection or spiritual practices. We're doing for the health benefits and maybe sometimes the benefit of those around us. But it's always looking at our own self, which is challenging.
And it's uncomfortable, right? And this is this is an idea that I've started to really latch onto as I'm trying to help people. Everything you just said, by the way, really resonates with me. Because the way my mindset was as I grew up was putting other people first, putting other people's needs first. And my mind by default thinks about what other people will think about based on whatever I'm wanting to do. Like automatically, that's kind of like the initial thought in my mind. It's always about somebody else. And
yes.
so I've had to like be a little bit more selfish on purpose. And if anyone else is feeling that way, like you will not ever cross the line so far to be like painfully selfish to somebody else, because if you're already that giving to others, even if you're 50% more selfish, like you're still not going to be like, way on the other side. So that's something I've had to learn.
Yes. But I've only the last, maybe like 2020, 2021, have I really started on that deeper and getting better at saying no, especially when there's shame or judgment thrown at me. So like, it's like the friend that always needs help moving. They are never there to help you move. You're paying for movers.
Right. It's
but
like a typical example.
They'll be like, Debra, you're to be a real friend, Debra, you have to help me move. You have to do things for other people. So there's like, we'll have those people around us, or maybe it's bosses or the workforce, or people we just meet out who will say, oh, you have to do things for other people, or you have to donate a large amount of your income to other people or your business, whatever it is, time or money you're dedicating. And those were a challenge, especially since I worked and volunteered and had a nonprofit too. Getting out of like the community of being forced to do things when I don't always want to. It's great to have a beach day, or
Totally.
I've taken so much time. Like for years, I wanted to get into rock climbing more than just little spurts here and there.
Yeah.
And since like going through this and dedicating time to enjoying myself rather than just volunteering all the time, I've been able to like be dedicated to rock climbing and enjoying that aspect. And then I come back away, I'm a better person. I'm more connected to myself because I'm doing something I love. And then I can use that to help people or coach people.
And you have to kind of fill your own cup first as well. You can't love somebody else more than you love yourself. And you only have so much energy to give. And if you're disconnected from yourself, you're still going to kind of be disconnected from other people. That's what I've realized. The more I've dived into myself, my psyche, and like really understand me, I've had better relationships with other people. When I was in like college, I remember I would literally Google, how do I have a deeper conversation? Like, how do I connect more with people? I would literally research because I didn't know. And I was so disconnected with myself, and I didn't know that either. As I started doing the work and started connecting with me and understanding myself, I started to understand just the human experience. And then I can connect with other people because I understand life at that level.
Yes.
Yeah, it was crazy it's amazing how we don't know like the state we're in until we start doing the work, I think.
Yes. And as much as I am for volunteering, helping the world, I do wonder if this forcefulness around helping others is not a way to control, to take away the freedom of working on ourselves and being happy, whether that's, government or religion. But religion, particularly this, you have to do this. But
interesting.
My thought is we also have to work on our own self, fill our own cup.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I know there's a strong part of me that wants to teach others and help others,
Mhm.
right? Which is why I've started this business and this
Yes.
podcast,
Uh-huh.
right? Because to me, it's affected my life positively in a
Yes.
mind-blowing, like unimaginable way that I would never knew was possible. I've had to figure a lot of this out. I'm like, I have to teach other people. So I want to help people. But like you said, you still have to continue to do the work yourself. And I think what's interesting about this stuff, about the inner energy work, the meditation, and getting into the Tantra world is if you stop, you're going to feel it, right? If I don't meditate for a few days,
Mhm.
I'm going to feel off. I'm going to feel tight, rigid. I'm going to feel antsy. I'm going to feel like I have too much,
Ooh.
stress energy, like in my body. And I've had to learn what that feels like because it can be very subtle for me. I think for other people, it's more obvious. But have you kind of felt something similar as you teach people? Like you have to have your own practice as well, because you'll probably feel it too. I know you do a lot of rock climbing, which is great. That's a great. I wish I could do more rock climbing. I think it's a great exercise. My fingers
Oh
just get
yeah,
all
for sure.
swollen, and then I just like I'm useless.
Eventually that goes away.
Okay.
Our hands get pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And I mean, thankfully, I met a teacher and also different lineages as well. In Kundalini yoga, it's always been about self accountability. My original Tantra teacher was like, you can't do this. I mean, you can't teach this unless you first do your own practice.
Yeah.
That I would never be able to hold space or see energy, because it's important. We see energy, we see them, we use our intuition when they walk in, that we offer them the best coaching for them. And you can't do that without your own practice.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
wouldn't
it
have
doesn't
started this.
doesn't have to control our life, take loads of time, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we can think so, like maybe that doesn't make sense. But if we think of it for people that have like drank alcohol, right? Like imagine how you feel on a day you're not hungover or haven't drank alcohol. Like, especially not for a few days, like feel energetic, healthy, vibrant, or mind works better. And then think like if you've ever like drank alcohol and like feel hungover or even sleep deprived too, the same. You don't want to like not feel like that. Oh, maybe we'll do it, like we go to a wedding party or something, have too much champagne or something. But it's the same with Tantra. Like if you don't keep practicing the energy work, you won't keep that high vibration. You'll start feeling a little groggy.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And going back to something you said a little while ago too, which I thought was really, really cool. As I've done the work and as I started to realize what I was doing was moving energy in my body and building that skill,
Mhm.
which I do think it's a skill. I could sit down and within seconds feel some sort of release and feel better within 20
Mm.
seconds, 30 seconds, right? 5 minutes. I can have a great meditation in 5 minutes. It's not enough to just do that little piece every day, but it's possible and you can get to that point, right? So I think that's an interesting, I don't want to say selling point for this work, right? But if you can, for the people that are like busy, like we were saying before, right? How they would benefit greatly from doing some type of this work, right? If you can get to
Yeah.
the point where you really can have a powerful, connection and release and whatever within just a couple minutes. And people think,
Yes.
oh, well, I need, 20 minutes a day. I don't have 30 minutes a day is too much. I used to do 2 hours a day during COVID. I
Mhm.
was an hour in the morning and an
Oh
hour in the
yeah.
evening. And it was
Oh yeah.
fantastic. I was feeling better every single day. And now I can sit down and within a few minutes, I can have a great session.
Yeah. So I'll say it also doesn't have to look like just doing meditation, sitting on a cushion, if that seems
Sure.
boring, or especially in the beginning. I mean, silent meditation's what I'm all about and getting people to do that. But that's not going to deliver the quick benefits that some people are looking for. So we can do other
Hmm.
things. So that can be moving the body with a dance that feels very free, that gets the energy moving, that we feel like because it's also just like shaking. Like in Tantra workshop, we shook out that
Totally.
energy, right? Loosen up
Yep.
the muscles. We can do tapping, like this is also a Qigong traditional Chinese medicine thing where you tap your body and you get the energy flowing.
Yeah.
Or if we're so exhausted, we can't even start any of that, finding someone really gifted at energy massage, and they help us with getting our energy moving, or even doing that occasionally for ourselves. So there's all different kinds of practices that we can try to find that won't do that. Another is Tantra yoga, doing yoga to move the spine in all directions. It's really important the spine be loose.
The spine
and
is
circulating, and the
totally.
neck.
Yep.
So starting off, even doing 2 minutes of cat-cow, spinal twisting, neck rolls can be enough. And then you feel, just close your eyes, take some breaths, and feel how your body feels after that. There should be this like subtle, blissful energy after doing that. So
Yeah.
it doesn't always, I know we talk a lot about meditation, but it doesn't have to be that in the beginning. What's going to give us results? And like when I have people come for Zoom or in person, I give them a few practices to see what's going to have, because everything is needed to have results. And then see what they like most, or see what affects them the most.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would you describe, or how would you describe like what energy feels like as it's moving? For me, when I like sit and do my Mindworx process, like I feel like the tingles kind of like spread from like one place and they kind of like kind of spread throughout the body. There's obviously like our sexual energy, right? That's something a lot of us are probably more in touch with and kind of know what that feels
Sure.
like. But like that tingly sensation has been a pattern. I've heard people talk about it in videos. I've had friends feel it as I kind of walk them through something. So that's kind of a thing
And
for
that
me.
can,
What have you experienced?
so it depends if we're talking about feeling it in the center body, the body or the spine, or we're talking about in the hands. So I'll start first with the body. In the body, that's it could be tingling, but for some, it will be just a calm feeling, bliss, a breath of openness. So it can be subtle, or it can be more powerful, like sexual arousal, and then the arousal feels like it spreads up your body and not just stays in your genital.
Right.
Either of those. Hand wise, we do energy stuff with our hands in Tantra to heal others or our own self, just like in Qigong and Reiki. So with that, people tend to feel magnetism, like two magnets drawn together and pulling apart. And that's like one of the best ways to first start feeling energy is with our own hands, moving them together and apart, and then see if they feel heat or coolness, and maybe making like a little energy ball there. So a little different effects depending what we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
It should never feel like overly explosive. It's extremely rare. I think I've only met one person, but there's also the Kundalini effect, Kundalini syndrome, which is the base of the spine. If someone just heavily overdoes practices too quickly, that release of energy can be too explosive.
In like a painful, uncomfortable way, or?
Yes, painful. The whole body starts shaking. The spine is actually vibrating. But so it's start off subtly. Like I said, I've only met one person ever that happened to, that just like too intense first session trying to teach themselves.
Wow.
And I've never even heard, like I've done Kundalini yoga since maybe 2005, and they're all about the Kundalini, but I've never heard with them as well, because they have a protocol of starting off more gentle, getting your body used to it, starting with prayer before you begin.
I like that. Yeah, I would imagine that person that their spine vibrated must have had a lot of trapped energy. because I've had that experience, right? There's a video that I actually showed some people in a talk
Mm,
of me on my therapist's table, Don, and he's
yes.
literally like kind of stroking my jaws here. And this is like, let's say 6 or 8 months in of seeing him on a
Okay.
regular basis.
Okay.
And he releases some energy in the jaw here, and my whole body is like flailing, almost like a fish out of water.
Yes.
And I'm yelling at the top of my lungs. And this goes on
Yes.
for like I have this on video. I recorded it because I've had so much trapped energy, trapped
Hmm.
emotions, just like stored. It's been fascinating to discover, I would say, and to release and to let go. And I can totally imagine. First of all, I would be very surprised, I guess, if somebody is able to tap into that level of release on their first experience or their first session. But for me, I think there's so much and it's all buried so deep
Yes.
that
Yes.
it takes work to even dig it up in the first place.
Great point.
Yeah. So starting gently, I think makes a lot of sense because you might not know what somebody has or how much. And it's an
Yes.
unimaginable amount that we have. It blows my mind. It really does.
Yes. And I'll divert to adding that to sex. So, yeah,
Yeah.
someone that's trained in tantric sex, even a small amount, think about, like that jaw massage,
Hmm.
releasing the energy there. What about doing that in the genitals, releasing just old traumas, old energy, shame?
Yeah. The perineum stores a ton,
Yes,
right?
perineum,
The
and
hips
women getting
too.
like G-spot massage by a lover, someone that just truly wants to help them, or getting a massage on the perineum and releasing that tightness, that stored energy, being all about helping the person there in front of them grow, and becoming far more orgasmic after. And it's not just a one-time thing, or we get to a certain level and we don't have to have it done anymore. Things always come up. If I have like, a
Yeah.
bad work day, or just something that makes me feel like very emotionally off, sometimes that gets stuck in that area. And then I don't
Totally.
even know it, but then I have this healing experience or this orgasmic experience alone or with my partner. And I release that. And it comes to my mind too. It'll be like, oh, 3 days
Right.
ago, and I was like, oh my God, I just released it. And now I can be even more orgasmic.
Yeah. Yeah. No, one thing I noticed within me is my sexual energy decreased a lot, almost to zero after I onboarded a ton of stress from when my dad was diagnosed with brain cancer. It was the most stressful thing ever. I felt it all the way down to my legs. I still carry some of that stress today. I haven't let go of all of it yet. And my sex drive almost entirely just dissolved and was just gone. And
Oh,
now looking back, I see why. Because I used to have a lot of energy. I really did. And it's all been stuck. Um, have you
stuck.
seen
And
that
we can
as a
also do
pattern?
that upon ourselves.
Yeah.
So someone could during a time like that not have sex because they don't have sexual energy. Others will force themselves to masturbate or have sex even though they're not in the mood because they're going through something intense.
Hmm.
And it's like they're traumatizing themselves. They're forcing themselves
Wow.
to have sex or masturbate when they don't want to, and they don't realize it until much later. And then that causes
Mm.
issues later on.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's going with the flow, maybe looking at how we can change things. Yes, there's sometimes we can't do that, like with your father. There's other times we can, take herbal supplements, change our diet, do things to increase energy, like doing dance. But we also have to make sure we're in the space that we do want to have sex.
Yeah. 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 It's been
It is
interesting
very, of
to,
course, it's very healing to have orgasms, or at least build that energy. We don't have to
totally.
orgasm, but it's not always healthy. It can be healthy, but it's not always.
Mm.
And I do see many clients that have came to me who felt like they had to orgasm every day, whether they were in the mood or not. They had to feel like if it was a man, then I have to do that every day, or consider myself high sex drive.
Oh, interesting. Even if they didn't feel like it,
Or
they felt
yeah,
it was a thing that had to
to
happen.
fall asleep at night. Every night I must masturbate before I go to sleep to fall asleep, to get rid of that like excess
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah. And that's what, I mean, that's learning about becoming multi-orgasmic as a man, right? They say like you're releasing your energy, right? Like your sperm, like they're just energy, they're swimmers, right? They have that energy. So you're kind of letting some of that out of your body and releasing it. So is that a pattern? How like, we can get tired right after ejaculating, and then you kind of let some of that go. I guess it is easier to fall asleep, but at that point it becomes like a coping mechanism. In a way, it becomes a crutch, and that's
Yes.
unhealthy, I think, like you were saying, right? So having that balance of keeping it healthy, even though it feels good and we might want to do it just because we want to do it, right?
Yes, and it becomes a crutch, especially later in life. Like the Taoists believe, male-wise, you can only ejaculate. You only have so much life force, and as you age, like 20s, you can pretty much ejaculate every day. But then it's like per age, then they move that down. So by 50, it's like twice a month or something, or weekly. So they have a graph by age, which I totally don't agree with, because we can do practices to have more energy, or which they also agree with, ejaculationless orgasm. So having orgasm without actually ejaculating, and then occasionally you can ejaculate is
Right.
what they do.
When you want to. Yeah.
But I have, I've had other lovers who would do ejaculation or less orgasm, and I've had ones that could actually orgasm without ejaculate over and over. So it depends what practices or just how much testosterone someone like naturally does. And
Everyone's different.
yeah.
Right?
And that's even like people in their 40s. I'm not talking about someone like 18 years old.
Wow. And you
Yeah.
just brought up testosterone too. I wanted to ask, how would you balance talking about our sexual health and our sexual energy from the perspective of energy, and then the perspective of hormones? Because the Western world, it's all about the chemicals, right? And
Yes.
your hormones, get your hormones balanced and checked, and you should be supplementing testosterone, yada, yada, yada. But what if you just have a stuck energy in your hips, in your perineum, like in that area? Like how do you see those two worlds?
I mean, I don't know if it's scientifically being tested. I'm a little more scientific, data driven with my ideas around this than some spiritual people who are all about, oh, do a practice and that will cure everything. Eat a piece of turmeric and that will cure everything. I also need to see like real research, or myself, like see the results of it myself. Right. Totally. So I don't know how much testosterone and estrogen have been tested around these types of things. But I think, yes, first we should be trying the practices and see how that changes, and our diet. I do know like some older, much older people, like my Qigong teacher in the past, who could take supplements. And herbal supplements should always be taken underneath a trained doctor, herbalist doctor. You don't want to Google them. I've learned my lesson, because not all of them have great effects, and they can be very powerful. But if they're the right ones for you, I've seen where they say, yes, oh, it helped my sex drive testosterone a huge amount. But that being said, I still, like, after like 35, 40, I still believe in also having our hormones checked. Some people naturally have higher hormones, and some people have to do something to supplement that, especially after age 40. And I'm not willing personally to take the risk of, being too low physical energy. And you'll also get actual blood results that your natural practices and diet are working. And it's better to
Yeah.
know than to guess, right? You can maintain something, but for someone to come to me and like, oh, I no longer get erections, and me and my wife only have sex a couple of times a year, that's going to take a huge amount of work to get back to a normal,
Yeah.
normal state, rather than getting hormone testing and doing the practices.
Yeah.
So I see both sides of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So what is it that I guess that you offer, right? You're a Tantra teacher. Um, what are like the services that you provide, that you offer to people? Like, how do you kind of take people
Mhm.
along their journey?
Yes. So I've had online courses since 2013. I have a couple on my website, and I offer one-on-one coaching. And then I always answer lots of questions as well with the courses. So good would be to start with more of an intro class and then work with me over Zoom to go into a specific direction. And I'm working on having some newer courses out that are more updated, because like as the world changes, how
Oh
we
yeah.
do our practices and interact, and even how I deliver my content should change as well. And I have a YouTube with at least 250 videos.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's good to put stuff out there for people to start getting a taste,
Yeah. So I
you
would
know?
say start solo tantra, start uh, practices just solo, build that little bit of a foundation, and then
Hmm.
look at, one day, do I want to just keep it with myself, especially if my partner won't practice? What is great is to add on a partner later, or go to group classes that you interact with others, not necessarily having sex, but doing
Right.
energy practices or emotional work with others. And then
That's
that
really
creates
powerful.
it. Yes, it is highly powerful. And it gets like, oh, I want to keep doing this. And you can
Because then you
like,
know what it's right. Because then you
yeah,
feel it.
yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I need to do more of those as well, for sure. Because you were talking about this earlier, right? How you can read the books, you can watch the videos, but until you actually go and experience something and feel something, right? Then it's going to be real for you.
Yes, and most major cities around the world do have a tantra teacher that has classes. They may not always advertise the classes, but if we contact local teachers who are, trained teachers, then they typically have a class, or they're willing to start a group class for people. And also tantra festivals or anything similar to tantra,
Mm,
like Taoist practices, qigong practices. But there are several tantra festivals or tantra workshops. So if we don't have something right near us, we can, do our solo practice and then plan on going and traveling to one of these, and maybe meeting our future partner as well.
right, because you're going to connect with people on a much deeper level, more emotional, more energetic level, for
Yeah, it
sure.
can be intense. I've met a couple partners at least at there, because I don't know about you, but when I put in the work, and I want someone who also puts in the work for self growth and even
Totally.
gets it. I mean,
Definitely.
yes, it can be fun to be dating someone that is just great fun, some like minded,
Yeah.
like similar activities, eating or rock climbing or whatever.
Right.
But to
Right.
have someone that I don't have to always explain what is Tantra or why should we have a correct mindset. They
Right.
don't have to do the practices often, but just so they like understand it, right? Like why I
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. For me, it's important to have somebody who's willing to do the work and working on themselves.
Hmm.
And now that I've gotten deeper, like into the level of energy work and the tantra stuff, it's like this to me is like necessary, because it's what makes us human, right? And we're connecting with like our just life force, life energy, and that's what's beautiful about just life. And it's It's what was here before all of the computers and the apps and the distractions. And it's still going to be here afterwards. And it's just what makes our experience so unique. And to me, like, I want to tap in at that raw level, and I want to connect with people and be with people who want that same, like, deep, raw connection of like, this is it. This is life, you know?
Yes.
Any last things you want to say, you want to share? Do you have any questions?
Always. However, I would just say going away with this is find a tantric practice and just start and actually try it. It's something we must
Yes.
do it
Yeah.
to understand what it is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's, again, that idea of like, you have to have that little bit of leap of faith, right? And whatever entry point works for you to start, take it. For me, I'll never forget this. When I was leaving California, leaving Silicon Valley, starting my digital nomad life, my mindset was terrible. It was so weak. I couldn't control it. My mind was addicted to thinking about this girl that I had chased for years, who kept on telling me, no, it's not going to happen. No, we dated, we broke up. No, and I literally could not control my mind about her. And there was this song that I started listening to from this metal band called Beartooth. And one of the lines in the song says, don't let your mindset become what controls you. And that was a slap in the face to me. I was like, shit, he's right. My mindset's totally controlling me. So then I was like, okay, how do I control my mindset? Right. And then I start hearing about meditation. And Tim Ferriss has this great quote. I think he actually took it from where he's quoting Abraham Lincoln, where he says, if I have 4 hours to chop down a tree, I will spend the first 2 sharpening the axe. And meditation is sharpening the axe. And so that to me was like, okay, I'm kind of putting these pieces together, that meditation's a thing and it's going to help. And a lot of successful people talk about meditation. So I'm like, okay, if that works for them and my mind's all messed up, then I guess it'll work for me too. And that was that little leap of faith when I started doing the work and started getting into it. And I'm so thankful that I did, because it's changed my life. So that to me was like my entry point. I think you had a great one earlier saying if people just want to be better at sex, that's a great entry point too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And they'll see results and then they'll want to add on more practices.
Yeah.
So
totally.
It's just making the plan or finding something, or if someone has to, you put it on the calendar.
Yeah. Schedule it in, right? If we're that busy person, whichever type of busy we are, like actually busy or not. Yeah. Putting things on the calendar is a great way to get them done.
I will say practices are better if we can find space alone where there aren't other people in our home, or at least not people that'll be coming into our bedroom or
no
office
distractions,
disturbing us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the highest goal would be, to practice on a subway, but somewhere alone, and you're never going to fully tap in like you would on a subway anyway. But if you're not feeling things, look at the distractions around you, like other people near you, or just too much energy in the house, or a bunch of loose dogs running around distracting me. Just look at, or if the clutter around us is distracting us, just see like the environment's important too.
Very important. I started meditating in my closet. I would shut the door of my closet and be like, I'm good here.
Great. That is where I'm meditating now, because before I used to be lucky enough to have a whole like extra bedroom dedicated to my practice, but now I just have a slightly walk-in closet and I just go in there.
Yeah,
it's like my space where it's more quiet, and I know once I'm going in there, I'm not just going to sit on the floor. Hopefully, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, but you can, like, when you practice alone, you can then still do the work when you're out and about in real life. This was happening, what's today? Sunday. A week ago, last Sunday, I was at a cenote with some friends and we were talking, and I was feeling like my jaw was really kind of activated that day. And I literally just, I was like, I'm going to sit down and do some Mindworx is what I call it.
Oh.
And like releasing the energy, feeling those tingles just by changing something in my mind, by
Yep.
putting my awareness in certain places, by opening kind of that awareness, I feel that start to flow. And we were talking, having conversations, and the whole time I was just like letting it go, just out and about,
Yes.
normal day,
Yes.
right? Because I know what to do. I know how to do the work. I know what it
Yes.
feels like. So it takes time to build up to that. But I think I completely agree. Start solo, start gentle, right? And start building that skill. And then it'll really change someone's life if they dedicate to it. Yeah. So how can people connect with you? Where can they find you?
They can find me everywhere, Debra Wilder, or Solo Tantra as well.
Okay.
Solotantra.com and Solo Tantra YouTube.
Nice. All right, Deborah, thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you.